This is a good drink. I like this place.
I like it too. Mario, let me get another one.
Well, jeez Louise, you guys each had enough.
Hey guys, don't you guys look nice?
Now you fools want to show off.
She's talking to me.
No, dummy. She's talking to me.
You want to see me outside?
I see you now.
They're fighting over me.
Hey, you guys need to break it up. You're wrecking my place. Hey, Sergeant Better Safer, I need you here now.
Welp, I got a few pics of them. I'm out.
You foes knocked each other out. Megan, don't you live?
Like pop out when it's time.
Looks like we're right on time again. I don't understand why you guys are fighting. I just saw Megan leaving. Was it for that?
It's because she liked my profile picture.
We're connected. Insta-talk.
Sounds like she played both of you. Isn't that right, Kraken?
Sergeant, to be safe. Captain Chaos, you guys saved the day again. You guys are the true heroes.
Thank you, Mario. We appreciate it. Once again, these two are going back to jail. Part of their punishment is they're going to have to pay for all of these damages. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
Welcome to Black and Blue, the podcast that's just for you. We bring solutions to everyday problems. We are here to humanize the badge. By interviewing first responders and discussing their trainings, experiences, and publications. Black and Blue airs weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tune in.
Let's go start the show.
All right, welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Black and Blue. This is the show where we go live weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we have conversations, interviews, and experiences with law enforcement and first responders in this community, whether they talk about their trainings, their publications, or experiences. We are live right now. I am Coach Clee. I am your host. I'm your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker. And we're going to have a lot of fun today. Some of you may know the guest that we have here. Others of you may not. But either way, we're going to get to know him and get to know the things that he's done in this field. And we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. I apologize. The podcast background's under construction, but we're going to get right through it. I promise you it's going to look better as we continue on. And I hope you guys are going to like it, and with more to come. But first and foremost, I got to let you guys know we are streaming on 5 different platforms. We are on 1 on LinkedIn, we are on 2 on Facebook, and we're also on 2 on YouTube as well. So therefore, I cannot see who's on here. If you have a question, make sure you put it in the comment section and we'll address it accordingly. If you just wanted that shout out like Seti P just did, he put in good evening, click good evening to you too, Seti P, make sure you put that in the comment section and we'll give you the shout out that you're looking for. All right. We have a lot of fun doing this. This podcast is sponsored by One Way Publishing. One Way Publishing is the book publishing company, right? I got 5 books that I wrote from One Way Publishing myself, and there's a few clients that wrote their books through One Way Publishing as well. You know, their motto is they can turn a mere thought into a book that's bought. And so therefore, if you want to get with them, the website is scrolling. I'm sorry, it's not scrolling below right now. It will be, though. It's in the comments section, workwithclee.com. Workwithclee.com is also if you want to do voiceovers for Certain Be Safe, you already saw one of the cartoons at the beginning, that's where you want to go. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, this show, Black and Blue, where we humanize the badge, that's where you want to go to, workwithclee.com. But I'm going to let Certain Be Safe explain it better than I can. Stand by.
Hi, I'm Sergeant Be Safe. One Way Publishing is the sponsor for the podcast Black and Blue. And these books behind me are a few of the books that are on their website. Check out the latest one, The Lab Part 2. It just came out. It's a compilation of former guests that were on the show. But make sure you tune into the podcast. That way you can see cartoons of me giving out safety tips on how you can be safe. See for yourself. Go to the website, workwithclee.com.
Subscribe now.
Yep, and that is One Way Publishing. And I see we got a couple more guests right here. See, we got Gregory Fox. Thank you for tuning in. Long time no see. I appreciate you coming back. We're going to have a lot of fun here. Like I said, let me put his book up here. His book, he's a relatively new author. He's been in the field of law enforcement for a few years now, but there it is, Looking for Trouble by Maurice Hicks. And I even told him, before I bring a guest on the show, I normally read their book, so therefore I have a little insight, but his book arrived 2 days ago, so this is going to be brand new for me too, so I'm excited to dive into this book and to get to learn more about him. I got to give a shout out to Karen Joyner Mitchell, because she's the one who connected both of us. I met her at an event. She told me that she had a cousin that was in law enforcement, and he also wrote a book, and therefore she connected us, and here we sit today. Thank you for her, and thank you for that connection right here. Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, without further ado, I'm going to bring him to the stage. He's got over 36 years in law enforcement and private security. He's won numerous awards in this field. He loves being an educator, a trainer, and he's an author now. He's dedicated to being a mentor and a coach, and this is his book. I've got my copy here. Make sure you guys get your copy too. We're going to talk about where to get it from, but I'm going to bring him to the stage right now. Maurice, are you here, Maurice?
I'm with you, Coach.
Perfect. Hey, thank you for making yourself available to come to the stage. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Certainly. I grew up in the city of Baltimore in a time pretty much when we were living under siege.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty much an introvert. I had no interest in law enforcement whatsoever. And you would find me 2 places normally when I was growing up, either in the library was sitting on my front porch reading an encyclopedia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So when I was 17, a friend of mine in high school was interested in joining the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
I had no interest in whatsoever. He asked me to accompany him to the recruiter, and I joined. And he didn't. Fast forward 4 years later, my cousin's interested in joining the Baltimore City Police Department.
Uh-huh.
Same scenario. He says, "Can you come down with me?" And I went. I joined. He didn't. So that's how I actually got into the law enforcement profession.
Okay.
Actually, it was, but my first day in the police academy, I knew I was going to do 20 years.
Hmm.
I just, I knew it was where I could use my skills, my ability to analyze problems. It just had everything that I was looking for.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just knew I would do 20 years. So
Yeah.
I was with Baltimore for 2 years. Then I joined Prince George's County Police Department. In the same way, my partner in Baltimore wanted to join Prince George's County Police Department. They asked me to ride with them.
Uh-huh.
And I joined, and he didn't. So I joined Prince George's in 1985, worked in patrol for about 3 years. Then I went to street narcotics, major narcotics. Years later, I went to homicide task force. I was sent to homicide, and then to the FBI.
Okay.
I worked in a couple other units, worked in intelligence unit as well. So worked in robbery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my career went full circle.
I bet. So let's backtrack a little bit. When you enlisted in the Marine Corps, what job did you do while you were there?
I was a warehouseman.
Okay.
Yes, I wasn't in the infantry or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so then when you following the trend, a friend of yours went to Baltimore Police Department, Baltimore County, did you say? Or Baltimore?
My cousin wanted to be a Baltimore City police officer.
Baltimore City?
So
Okay.
we walked down to the recruiter's office, and the recruiter started talking to me as well and said, "Why are you here, son? Why don't you take this test?" Being a quiet, obedient young man as I was, I'm like, "Yes, sir."
Uh-huh.
So I took the test, and I was walking out, and he said, "Where you going, son?" I said, "I'm going back home." He said, "I got a job for you." So that's actually how I got with Baltimore Police.
Wow. And so through that process, you actually got the bug, and going through the academy, light went off, and like this, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. How did that, because of problem solving, helping people, what exactly was the catch for you that you knew that this is what I need to be doing?
Well, one thing that really impacted me as a child growing up, there was a group of men that took over some abandoned garages across the street from where I live, and they would shoot up heroin.
Okay.
And that's something that impacted me as a child. And one other thing that happened, one day they decided they were going to burglarize my neighbor's home, 2 doors down, and my neighbor was my mentor.
Okay.
So they burglarized her house, and they took the stuff back in the garage, and one of the young men pulled up his shirt and showed me his gun. And I was about 11 years old at the time. A few minutes later, my neighbor came and she asked me, had I seen anything? And I hesitated for a second. And I said, no. And I said no because, number one, I was afraid. And number two, we just never called the police. We just didn't have any confidence in the police doing anything. And that is something that, that really troubled me for years, and that gave me a chance to kind of reconcile, that incident where I could go and make a difference, and understanding how people are fearful, to contact the police, and they don't have confidence in the police.
Yeah, I can see that being impactful. It riddled you with guilt to the point where one mistake of not speaking up or doing anything kind of gave you a lifetime of making up for it.
Yes, and it actually, I never dreamed I would be in the police, working in the police department, but now I found myself gravitated to narcotics as a result of that.
Right. So, and you mentioned one of your neighbors being a mentor. Are there, with that individual and others, are there any other mentors that have influenced you to become the person that you are today?
Without a doubt, my grandfather, who what people would probably say is an unlikely person, because my grandfather spent the majority of his adult life in prison.
Oh, wow.
and he decided that one thing was going to be his life mission is to steer me clear of the minefields of living in the inner city.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a great mentor. He told me, Maurice, you have a good heart and a good mind, and that you're going to, impact the world. And he had just had a significant impact on my life.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so therefore, hearing those kind words and having an influence over you, then joining the Marine Corps. Army leads the way, by the way. Who?
We had to dispute that with Coach, but okay.
Had to get that in when I could. And then therefore going to the police academy and catching the bug, and then serving multiple decades of servitude. How do you feel that you've made an impact on society while being in law enforcement itself? Mainly, I know the first couple of years are more than likely patrol.
Oh yeah, I made a difference. One of my greatest differences was actually in patrol, because I found myself walking foot patrol in the housing projects.
Okay.
And I had one incident where I saw a lady who looked in distress, and I asked her what happened and what was wrong. She said that someone had broken into her home.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked her who was investigating it. She said, investigating it? I didn't call the police. And kind of alarm bells went off, incident with me, when I didn't, notify the police. So I went into the lady's house, and she didn't have any furniture in there. So I'm like, I said, are you expecting new furniture? And she said, no, you don't understand. They took everything.
Oh, wow.
So they had taken her furniture, her food, her children's clothing, the refrigerator ornaments, the clothes off the clothesline, her laundry detergent. They had completely cleaned this lady's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked again, I said, I'm just shocked you didn't call the police. She said, they just don't care. And I looked in her eyes and I said, I care.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a rookie at the time, had about maybe 4 or 5 months on. And so I started doing a preliminary investigation. And I won't give the whole story out, but it was a time of reckoning for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to solve her case.
Okay.
And it had another impact. People in the community began to trust me.
Mm-hmm.
People started coming to me with their unsolved cases. And as a patrol officer, I was solving cases left and right, unsolved cases. And I got established rapport with the community because the word got out after I helped that lady that, hey, the police are here to help you.
Yeah.
So it was a time for a redemption for me.
Right. Gotcha. I can see how that's a good feeling, and it's important because that's part of what we talk about in today's world with community service, and you were doing it right there. Actually, in the performances of your duty, you don't always hear about it on patrol, but on patrol is the ground level where you can actually engage and interact with the public and get things solved.
Yes, indeed. And ironically, my sergeant, I told my sergeant I want to be a detective.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I landed on foot patrol and the housing projects. And what he was teaching me is the importance of establishing rapport with people in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really angry with him when he put me out there, And then after I spent about 6 months out there, he said, how many people do you know now? I said, everybody. How many crimes have you solved? A whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And that was his whole motive for putting me on foot patrol.
Mm-hmm. So in retrospect, the thing that you didn't want to do actually became your golden nugget that helped catapult you forward.
Yes, it was. And people called me by my first name. I wasn't Officer Hicks. People called me Maurice.
Mm-hmm.
It was like I was part of the community.
Right. Perfect. Good. And then when we're going to take a pause for the calls, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a couple of second interlude with Sergeant Be Safe commercial, and we're going to come right back, and then we're going to jump right into the story on how you got into narcotics and investigating and all those fun stories and experiences. But we will be right back. Stand by.
I'm in the interviews podcast.
What up, Jackson? Let's get these bikes and join up with the crew.
All right, I want to try some stunts.
Cool. I got the camera. I'll record you as you sing inside the traffic.
About an hour.
Okay.
Commercial break.
I'm ready to go whenever you are.
Son, am I right so far?
Hey fellas, I hope you don't plan on riding those dirt bikes on the street. That's illegal activity. You guys don't have the proper gear to ride. The bikes also need inspected, insurance, and registration.
Oh, I didn't know we needed all that.
You guys don't have a driver's license either. Sorry, fellas.
Everyone else does it.
Bad decision.
So, is there a place where we can go ride them legally?
That's a great question. Yes, there are. In some states, there's designated areas like tracks or dirt roads where you can ride them. Riding them on the public road is not acceptable, especially when there's careless disregard for other people and traffic and property. You can get hurt or you can injure someone else just for being a thrill seeker. Not only that, it's illegal and you could face a ton of fines.
Thanks for letting us know. We weren't trying to get in any trouble.
I'm just glad we were able to help before things got bad.
Remember, fellas, this summer's gonna be hot, so let's make it an enjoyable one. And let's not get in any trouble thrill seeking while riding these dirt bikes and quad runners. Captain Chaos and I are here to help, and that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're jumping right back into this interview with Maurice Hicks. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Likes are free. Likes keep this show going. Likes keep that algorithm popping. And we got Karen, the lady who introduced both of us. She's on here. Hi, Coach Cleet. Thank you for the shout out. Absolutely. And thank you for the connection so we can get this show moving forward. So, Maurice, before the break, we were talking about jumping into how you got into narcotics and investigations like that. You finally became a detective, and not only did you become a detective, you got to do so many amazing and wonderful things. Can you share some of those experiences with us on that end?
Oh, absolutely. Well, what got me interested in narcotics? I had a partner. I had someone who was transferring my squad, and he partnered up with me.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of like a hippie dressed up as a cop. You know, he was kind of out of place in patrol. He had been narcotics for 10 years. So we would ride together, and he would just see these drug dealers and jump out the car and start, patting people down.
Mm-hmm.
And I would never know what was going on. It would happen so fast, and he would never tell me. He wanted to be the star of our show, So that just made me curious. I started watching, and I started noticing he didn't necessarily see a drug deal. What he saw was two people come together for a couple of seconds, separate. One person reaching into his pocket is putting the money from the buy. So so I started studying people as we rode together. So by the time I went from Baltimore to Prince George's County, I had perfected these drug detection skills. So, by my third month on the street in patrol, I led the station in arrests for the entire 3 years. And most of them were narcotics arrests.
Okay.
For patrol on foot, and traffic stop, I just developed this knack, for narcotics. So an opportunity presented itself, and I interviewed. But what happened was I made a traffic stop, and I got a really nice load of drugs off of these individuals. And normally when I made drug seizures, my squad would post pictures of me and the drugs and money on the doors of our narcotics unit, which obviously would make them very angry. Now they didn't know they were doing this. And so I was like, once I saw it, oh my God, I'm never going to get narcotics, So when I'm going back to this traffic stop, so I make this traffic stop, and it sees a pretty good amount of drugs. I said, well, here's my opportunity. So I turned them over to narcotics, and these guys ended up being the best informants they ever had. So things started turning around for them. So I began to believe I had somewhat of a chance of getting in there. So I interviewed, and the first time I was taking in street level narcotics.
Okay.
So we're just doing street level buys. 9 months later, the lieutenant in charge of major narcotics came to me and asked me to come to major narcotics, which really shocked me. said, he had noticed my work and thought I'd be a good pick. So that's how I got. That's how I got into major narcotics.
Okay. All right. And from there, did that lead you to being on task force? Where you got to lead, be a leader on the FBI task force itself?
Yes. This is how that went down. So we had this drug dealer who I knew as a street level dealer.
Mm-hmm.
He has since become a drug kingpin.
Okay.
In homicide, I believe he's responsible for about 12 murders.
Oh, wow.
So the best in narcotics tried to catch him. For years, couldn't catch him. The best in homicide couldn't catch him. Station level detective couldn't catch him. Or if they caught him, he always beat the charge.
Mm-hmm.
So the homicide sergeant's on the scene of a homicide, and they're interviewing this witness. And when they mention this guy's name, the woman almost has a heart attack just about to mention his name.
Wow.
So the sergeant said, this guy must be really bad. So the homicide detective said, we've been trying to tell you for years, this guy's a menace to society. He's been killing people for years. So the decision is made to form a task force. It's going to be me from major narcotics and 2 homicide detectives.
Okay.
So later on, 2 FBI agents joined. So it was 2 homicide detectives, myself, and 2 FBI agents.
Mm-hmm.
What made me, the reason why I got the case is because I had an active investigation organization. At the time, the chief of detectives calls down to the lieutenant in major narcotics and says, so tell me, Lieutenant, which one of your hotshot detectives has this kingpin under investigation? You have a whole bunch of detectives down there.
Mm-hmm.
Homicide tell me he's a drug dealer. I know you have him under investigation. Lieutenant said he was sweating bullets. He went to the computer and he looked it up. He had a clerk look it up. He saw my name. He got back on the phone. Yeah, one of my men has him under investigation. So everybody was jockeying for that position. The lieutenant said, no, Maurice had him under investigation. He's going to get the case.
Okay.
So the reason why I emerged as a leader of the investigation is because I had historical knowledge of these guys that nobody else had, because I knew these guys as a patrol officer.
Mm-hmm.
I interacted with them, the people who were murder victims, their family. I knew these people from being a patrol officer. So we ended up doing a wire on them. And of course, because I talked to these people, knew them, I knew their voices on the phone.
Right.
Right. So I had so much historical knowledge for so many years about these individuals. That's why I emerged as the leader of the task force.
Gotcha. Hey, that sounds like they borrowed, The Wire had borrowed a few excerpts from your experience.
You know, it was interesting. I was going to write this book years earlier, and my cousin actually talked me out of it. He said, Maurice, everybody knows what goes on in inner city. Boy, was he wrong.
Yeah. And speaking of such, what compelled you to actually let me get my copy in the frame right here. What compelled you, and how long did it take you to write this book?
Yes, 2 things compelled me to write it. The first thing is I've been a teacher at the University of Maryland Global Campus for about almost 23 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite teaching techniques is using the case studies method. So I found that a lot of topics that I was teaching had to do with cases that I worked.
Okay.
So what I did was I used my actual cases as a case study, as case studies. And I wouldn't reveal to the students that it was actually my case when I had them going through all these changes, trying to solve these cases.
Uh-huh.
And at the end, I would reveal to them, hey, this is an actual case, it's a case of mine. And my students would say, my God, that would make a great book. So that was one thing. The second thing is, as I would travel throughout the U.S., people would inadvertently ask me what I did for a living. When I would tell them, I was in law enforcement, they would say, well, tell me your most interesting story. So I would tell people these stories, and everybody said the same thing. Man, that would make a great book. So that's what inspired me to write the book. As far as how long it took me to write the book, I wrote it during the pandemic.
Okay.
So for 2.5 months, I was racing against the clock before I went back to work.
Right.
So almost every waking hour for 2.5 months, all I did was write. And then I started posting excerpts from the book on social media. And that really changed how I wrote the book because I had to use teasers. So I learned how to write it with suspense. So I spent like another year and a half tweaking it so we'll have suspense.
Okay. And of those excerpts, do you have anything that you can share with us from your book, Looking for Trouble?
Sure, I can. I have a couple here.
Okay.
This one is called Rumble in the Jungle.
Okay.
I needed help and I needed it fast. I was trapped in the muggy, tiny apartment. The heat and humidity had sweat pouring down my face, obstructing my vision. I was in desperate need of an extraction. I wondered if Backer would find me in that hellhole. I had made a rookie mistake. Now the laws of the street would prevail. They wanted me to pay for it all. Yes, pay for Reaganomics and every real or perceived injustice at the hands of the police. I had hoped for a positive outcome. However, it was like being an unwilling participant in a horror show. My fate was inevitable. My back was against the wall and there was no method of escape. It was time for close quarters combat. My situation was so dire that only the elite SEAL Team 6 could have rescued me. It was probably the first time Mistletoe and his posse saw an officer alone in the projects. The streetwise hoodlum's predatory instincts kicked in. He knew I was a rookie. My shiny silver badge and neatly pressed white uniform shirt with military creases gave me away. In his mind, he was the alpha male line, and I was a helpless deer separated from the herd. Now the pride was about to close in on me. And this basically is an overview of a time when I was in projects, and I'm taking the victim back to her apartment, and the suspect and 4 other people are in the apartment waiting for her. So I'm surrounded by these gentlemen alone, and I'm a rookie. And my radio's not working.
Of course not.
Right. Which is the story of my life in many of the most dangerous situations. I have more radio problems than a man on the moon.
What can go wrong will go wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's an excerpt from the book itself?
Yes, that's an excerpt from the book.
Gotcha.
That is my prologue. That's how I lead into the book.
Gotcha. So is your book a series of individual stories, or
yes.
What? Okay, so it's not just one. It doesn't. It's not an autobiography of you, how you started in law enforcement all the way up until your retirement. Then, correct?
It's a memoir, and it goes until I'm promoted to sergeant. That's when I cut it off. But it's a collection of stories. Patrolled and different assignments I had. Probably my first 8.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have cases involved with a serial rapist, drug smugglers, drug kingpins, murderers. It runs the gamut.
Yeah, I can believe it. I bet some stories are very strange I know working this job, the truth is stranger than fiction sometimes. I know you know that. And I'm pretty sure some of the stories are strange. Some of them can be emotionally draining. Some of them can be very funny. Some of them can be very sad. I'm pretty sure it runs the gambit of ups and downs and highs and lows.
Yes, and that's why people who have reviewed the book have said that they run those gamut of emotions: sadness, anger, terror.
Okay.
Laughter. A wide range of emotions. And what I try to do in the book is I try to get into the minds of the characters, not only the police, but the suspects, their challenges, the people living in the community who are pretty much trapped, living under siege in their apartments and things like that. The single parent who was trying to keep her son or daughter out of the drug trade, their challenges. So I really try to run a gamut and show the impact that crime has on the community, witnesses, police officers, our families. One of the things I wanted to do was raise awareness of impact of our family. For instance, me having to leave my home when there's a serial rapist on the loose in the neighborhood where we live.
Wow.
I have to abandon my wife and my 5 children to go out, at night in the midnight looking for a serial rapist. So the psychological, the impact of that on me and my family, those are things I try to bring forth in the book.
Right. And as you were writing, I know you're getting experiences out. And was it therapeutic for you to actually get some of these stories out for yourself?
Yes, it was very therapeutic, and you start to recognize patterns of behavior personally and professionally, and then you learn how you learn to overcome different challenges. Makes you reflect back. And for my book, I do a lot of reflecting back. I talk about my upbringing in Baltimore, how I use those experiences both in the Marine Corps and growing up, my grandfather, and how those influences helped me to maneuver through, dealing with people on the street, and also the internal politics within the police department.
Gotcha. So who? I'm sorry. Yeah, that is a whole different story. I understand. Yeah. we can have a whole separate podcast on that as well.
For sure.
But the audience that you were writing for, as you were getting these experiences out, who did you gear this information to?
Well, I really wanted to be written in a fashion that just about anybody can enjoy reading it, because it's an inspiring story. Right. And I think there's something for everyone. This is also what I'm getting from talking to people who have read the book. There's something, I use a lot of scripture in the book.
Okay.
I have a lot of quotations from scripture in the book. So anybody who is faced with challenges and they need to overcome situations, can learn something from the book. People in the law enforcement profession can also, learn from the book, and help them to really realize that, this job comes full circle. It doesn't end when you leave the job. Yeah. I talk about having, nightmares, where somebody I'm working undercover with is standing over top of me with a knife, and I'm using my gun and clicking and it's not working. Those are kind of things that a lot of people don't think about. Yeah. Because it stays with you. You try not to bring it home with you, but it's in your mind. It takes time for you to kind of settle down and and process some of the horrific things that you see. Yeah,
absolutely. I know from my training experience myself, I've had those dreams or nightmares where I'm in a fight. And I'm punching the guy as hard as I can. I'm giving those knockout haymakers, and in the dream itself, they're not doing a thing. They're not phasing them. They're not even connecting properly. And the whole time I'm giving my all, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And then you just wake up and you got that cold sweat for a minute, and I'm like, man, I can't wait for these days to be over to stop having these kind of dreams.
Yes, the interesting thing is when I posted a little bit about that on social media, some of the people I used to work with told me the same thing. I didn't realize other officers had experienced the same thing. So it was interesting to hear you say that so many of us are experiencing that.
Yep. That seems to be a trend. I think that's something I know we discussed it, and I'm an old guy in the game, but we discussed it in the academy, and I think it's something that's coming to with peer review and emotional intelligence and things where departments and agencies are starting to address it more. So our quality of life while on the job is better, and the quality of life that we have after we retire is also better.
Yes, because I know when I was I started in the 80s, and we really didn't know much about post-traumatic stress about then. And sometimes officers will call other officers cowards, things like that. And we really just didn't understand the impact of post-traumatic stress.
Right.
It was like, suck it up. It's like the military, just suck it up and take it, and I talk about one story in there where I responded to this horrific scene with my partner is on the scene. I'm racing to the scene to see him. And what he saw and what I saw was just, really horrific. And I remember going on a call with him a couple hours later and asking, how you doing? And he said, Maurice, how the heck do you think I'm doing? I just saw the most horrific thing anybody want to see. And he never said, take 15 minutes off, take the rest of the day off. He said, it's messed me up. Yeah. And I felt so bad because I was so oblivious, because it was like the military, suck it up and take it.
Yeah.
And I just felt bad as his friend that I didn't realize just how bad I mean, it impacted me, but he saw this horrific thing happen.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw the aftermath of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's when I realized, we're not robots. We really need to,
Oh yeah.
really, really need counseling to deal with a lot of stuff that we see.
Yeah. This job can tear you up. Things go with you, and it can really. You got to get those feelings and emotions out. The things that we see while on the job do change you. I remember the guy who was considered my first FTO at the first department I was with. He said, the way you come in this job, and I was happy-go-lucky. I was eager. I couldn't wait to get into all these different adventures and experience so many things. He said, the way you come into this job is not going to be the way that you leave this job, but you can still have a wonderful career, but you just have to take care of your mind, body, and soul in the process.
That is so true, and especially when you see crimes against children.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how you try to prepare yourself, but when you see a child being hurt,
Mm-hmm.
be a victim of a violent crime, or even in an automobile accident, it just tears you up.
Yeah.
And for me, when I first started in Baltimore, the first accident, the third day on the street, I was actually still in field training. The third day on the street, I was working with our traffic investigation unit who handles fatal accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I respond to the scene of an accident, and it's a high school classmate.
Oh, wow.
He's trapped in a car, basically clinging to life. And that's one of the first horrific things I saw was my classmate mangled in a car, clinging to life. And I had to go to his house and notify them he was in critical condition. And that was my first wake-up call.
Yeah.
It was just like surreal to see him trapped in that car.
Yeah, I can empathize, man. It's not a fun thing to do. This job is very rewarding, but it also has the other side of the coin as well.
That's for sure. And it's, most of us do 20 or more years. So, it's a long time to be exposed to, so many, devastating things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, stay tuned. We're coming right back. We're going to pause for the cause. Here's Certain Be Safe. We'll be right back.
Here's my chance. No cameras, no security systems, nothing. I'm about to own this house.
Rob, you blind. We know you're in there.
Oh no! It's Be Safe.
The house is surrounded. Come out with your hands up.
I'm not coming out.
Okay, I'm sending in Kraken.
Release the Kraken.
Dance with my dogs in the nighttime.
Ah! Kraken bit me.
I tried to warn you.
We'll get you the proper medical attention, but you're going to have to surrender and come out with your hands up in that house that does not belong to you.
Hold on. I'm coming out.
Don't be all day. We'll send Kraken back in.
My leg hurts now, and I have to go back to jail.
Well, this is what happens when you illegally enter a property that does not belong to you, also known as burglary.
Ooh.
And there you have it. Rob, you blind, you're coming with me. Hopefully you learn to respect other people's property and not break into homes. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're discussing Maurice Hicks's book right here, Looking for Trouble. I know it's kind of blocked by the banner right there, but there it is. If I know you discussed an excerpt from it and you told us your experiences through your career in law enforcement, but if anyone wanted to pick up a copy of this book, how would they go about doing that?
Certainly, they can purchase them on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Google Play, and Apple iTunes Store. Ebooks, it's a whole bunch of different platforms, but Amazon is probably the quickest way to get it.
Perfect. And I know, like you said, you just recently had was it your very first book signing?
Oh, actually, it was my second. I had my first one in Aruba I think about 2 months ago. So that was really fun.
I bet.
So that was really fun. And, people are so friendly there, and it was just a really great experience. And, we were selling them on the beach, the hotel, went to the local police station, sold one to the station commander. So,
nice.
Yeah. And so I had a book launch party about 2 weeks ago in Greenbelt, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of my former colleagues from both Baltimore and Prince George's County Police Department. So it was really good. Some of my former robbery detectives, and just a lot of people went to the academy with in Baltimore and everything else. It was really fun.
That's cool. And congratulations for you on both. The one in Aruba, that sounds like a good trip in itself, and then your other one back home with your former colleagues and employees.
Oh yes,
I should say.
Yes, and more on the horizon.
Yep. And Shayla says, "Certain be safe is the best." I believe that's one of her favorite cartoons that just played. Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys give us a like. And Maurice, that to kind of take a segue into another topic of things that you do. Like we discussed backstage, you have your own agency as well, correct?
Yes, private detective agency, both in Nevada and in Maryland, and security companies both. Yeah, so I've had a good time working cases in Las Vegas, Sin City, where they have us, what I would describe as cheaters of every kind, whether it be the workers' compensation, fraud, or, it runs the gamut. So, and sometimes I've served legal papers to high-end clients, high-end clients for celebrities, people coming through town who they can't catch in other countries. They finally come to a conference in Las Vegas, and I do a stakeout to catch them at these different conferences. So it's been a heck of an experience.
I bet. Yeah, and doing, how long were you doing private investigating? You said in Las Vegas and in Maryland. How long?
Yes.
Totally were you doing both?
About 17 years.
Okay.
Yeah, about 17 years. Yeah. Having a great time. I felt like I was almost with the PD, working embezzlement cases, and still doing undercover work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And without giving too many details, are there any experiences that you can share with us?
Well, we had a person who was embezzling money from his company, and I had somebody make an introduction to me, and I go with him up into this expensive condo that he owns that he can't afford based on his salary.
Right.
So he's telling me about how he's gonna buy this suite, and he's telling me all this stuff, and I'm wired up and I'm videotaping him the whole time.
Wow.
So he goes back to work, and of course his employer shows him this video. His face almost hit the floor when he found was undercover operative. So yeah, that's just one of many cases,
Wow.
that I did, and still get a chance to use those undercover skills.
Yeah. Practical skills, skills that you learn while on the job are able to be used in other facets of life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me change gears one more time. Through the course of the career, and I know it's been very challenging now since the pandemic hit. We've had a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows. I know this career is very cyclic, where sometimes we're at the very top. Most of the times we're in the very middle, and sometimes, and it seems like a long, drawn-out time, law enforcement and first responders are at the very bottom of what it seems like society. It kind of takes a toll on either rookies, new hires, or people who are thinking about getting into the career field, and it definitely takes a toll on the seasoned vets. What would you say to anyone who's looking to get into the career of law enforcement, but are kind of have dipped their toe in the water, but haven't jumped all the way in? What kind of advice would you give them?
Well, one piece of advice I would give them is to really research and understand what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
And this job is a calling.
Right.
It's not just it's a job where you really have to care about people
Mm-hmm.
and relate to their struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you really do. It's it's something that if you don't have a love for people, this is just not the job for you.
Right.
If you're a judgmental person, it's not the job for you.
Right.
Because the way I would tell them, approach this the way you would approach a family member who's struggling with a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They may be struggling with addiction, alcoholism, mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of times when you get in this profession, you can become self-righteous. And that's something that we have to guard against.
Right.
Because people, no matter what, they expect us to be the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
We're the problem solvers. We have to have empathy, and that is something I learned from my first training officer in Baltimore.
Okay.
He was a 20-year veteran. He spent his entire time in patrol.
Mm-hmm.
He never lost his enthusiasm, and he never lost his compassion for people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he taught me. He said, Maurice, as long as you're on this job, never lose your compassion for people.
Mm.
And he says, do whatever you have to do as long as you can justify it. It may not be written in department procedure, but follow those guidelines in your career, and you'll be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And he was absolutely right. And if I could tell you about a quick story where I used his advice.
Absolutely.
Me and my partner responded to a scene of a disturbance. We went to the apartment. When we get there, this guy's like, he's by the curtains, like he's trying to climb the curtains. He's on PCP.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to a lady and I'm asking, well, what's wrong with that guy? And they have an infant, a newborn. It's probably like 3 months old.
Hmm.
So she's cursing me out and get the F out of my house type of deal.
Uh-huh.
I said, wait a minute now. So I called Protective Services to let them know. And before we remove a child, we're supposed to, contact them to get approval.
Right.
But we were there for like an hour and nobody would call us back.
Hmm.
So I looked at my partner. I said, I'm taking the baby with me. He said, you got to be kidding. He said, you daggone well, they're going to write you up. I said, oh, the baby's coming with me. Grab the car seats. So I took the baby. Of course, she had a fit. I took the baby, went to the station. And the sergeant's like, oh my God, what have you done now? What the heck is this baby doing in the station? So I told him. So I said, what would you like us to do? Stay there till the guy freaks out on us and cut us in half or whatever, what do you expect me to do? I'm not going to leave a baby in that environment.
Uh-huh.
So the Protective Services worker eventually calls the lady, goes there, talk to her, and they devise this plan how they're gonna make a complaint on me and encouraging the lady to sue me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when my sergeant talked to me about it, I said, what my FTO told me in Baltimore was, do whatever you have to do as long as you can justify it.
Mm-hmm.
And if they write me up, so be it. I get a fine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But at least I know that baby's safe.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarge said, well, you violate departmental policy, you're going to pay the price. In the end, they did an investigation, and the director of Department of Public Services wrote me a letter of commendation.
Oh, wow.
And she said that I used my discretion, broke the rules when it was necessary to do so. So, like my FTO said, do whatever you have to do as long as you can justify it. I live by those words. It's helped me in my personal and professional life.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. Situation that you can tell had an impact on you, and not just you, it has an impact on others because you shared the story, and it had impact on that child at the time as well. Who knows what would have happened if you decided not to go a different direction.
Yeah, and it was good advice. I mean, if I hadn't gotten that advice, I've been more likely to just follow the rule Don't don't get written up. Keep your record squeaky clean. But he really, he taught me a lot. And when he trained me, field training was only 5 days, and that was still while you were in the academy. It's not like now you go 90 days. It was 5 days. But I can tell you, in those 5 days, he taught me so much. He taught me about discretion. He gave me an example of pulling somebody over, a single parent over, who went to the store to get some milk for a baby. She has a suspended license and she has different violations on the car. He told me about, he pulled a lady over and he said, "What do you think I did?" I said, "You wrote her the tickets and took her car." He said, "No, I didn't." I told her, "Go straight home and don't let me catch you out here again." He said, "Because if I'd have written her a ticket and impounded her car, I'd have put her into a rabbit hole that she would probably never climb out of." He said, "Again, you have a lot of discretion out here. You can go by the book, or you can just remember, to have compassion for people." And it's just really important lessons I learned from him.
Right. Good story. Good story. Good situation. Good learning points.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna segue the second part of the question then, because that information that you just shared is good for all of us, and it's good for any individuals who's thinking about getting into this occupation but haven't totally committed or made the full decision. Now let's talk to the seasoned guys who have been here 10, 15, maybe 20, 25, however long, and they're just holding on. They're hanging on, and things. They're tired of the rigmarole. They're what's it called? Tired on duty, or quiet quitting, as the new term is. What would you say to those seasoned guys who are still in the profession and they're kind of teetering? Should they just get out and retire, or should they finish their tour?
The first thing I would say is for them to reflect back on why they joined the police department to begin with. Most of us joined this job because we really want to help people.
Right.
What we do is extremely important. I know I've saved lives so many different ways, and, and if you hang in there, you're going to have a lot of stories to pass on to your children about how you made a difference in this world. It takes a special kind of person to run toward trouble when everyone else is running from it.
Exactly.
But, we just have to go back to the basics, because somebody has to do this job. Somebody has to protect the citizens. Someone has to protect the children. We're guardians of peace, and what we do is so important. And we have to always remember that it's not just a job. We make a difference where a lot of people, a lot of people can't. You can touch people's lives. You can save lives. And every job doesn't have those benefits.
Right.
But also, we have to make sure that we establish trust, reestablish trust with the community. Because, to be quite honest, we could have done a better job of policing ourselves over the years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's gotten to where it is now, and I know it's challenging. Because we just don't have the support. When I started, policing was prestigious. People looked up to you. Everybody has to work individually to try to get that back. Where people feel good about the police, they feel connected.
Right.
Yeah. So, what I would say is we have to make deposits in the community. Establish rapport with people, let them understand that, we're people too. We're not just some trained soldier who has no feelings and emotion. We're people too. And we have to let people know that, for them to trust us again. It's a big difference the way I started being on foot patrol, talking to people every day. So now, like when I was a county officer, you have a larger beat. So, you're running from call to call. But even then, I was known for getting out of my car, talking to citizens.
Right.
Quick story, I used to, go visit a lot of merchants, and between calls, I sit out there and write reports just so I, had the presence there, So I'm on a traffic stop. I'm back in my sergeant. I'm on a traffic stop, and the owner, while we're on a traffic stop, the owner of the this carryout runs to my car with a carryout order for me. So the sergeant said, "What the heck is this? You know, you you got delivery to your car." I said, "Well, I'm like Detective Axel Foley. I'm trying to teach you guys how to do police work." That's how you have contact with the community. You know, I saw him. You know, he had a need. He never had to say anything. I didn't come in the store all the time, but I would sit out there, and he appreciated that. So he saw I had a need, and he brought food to my car. You know, and so I never lost that concept of getting out my car, talking to merchants, talking to people. But that's how you're gonna establish trust. And to be honest, that's how you're gonna be able to solve cases. That's why with this, you know, with a lot of cases that I investigated, I was, you know, a walking intelligence agent because I'm always gathering intelligence because I have so many these merchants, particularly as a narcotics detective. I had informants everywhere. Why? Because I got out there and I talked to people and they trusted me. They knew if they gave me information, it was going to get back to the suspect. And we just have to get back to those basics.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, those of you who don't know who Detective Axel Foley is, that is the character Eddie Murphy played in Beverly Hills Cop.
Thank you very much.
I know you have a couple generations on here, and it's crazy when I talk to some of the guys that I work with that have never seen some of the traditional cop movies, that have never even heard of Beverly Hills Cop, RoboCop, Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, all those movies that were the stuff that when I was coming through. So I know there's a few that are like, who's Axel Foley? They're thinking it's a real person.
So thank you. Thanks for clarifying that.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap up, we're going to pause for the calls with another Sergeant B cartoon, and we're going to come right back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get your questions ready, but we will be right back. Get those lights up.
Hey, bro, we got next game.
Bro, what's going on?
We got this pickup game we're about to get started.
I got a bag full of treats.
Come on, man. Don't nobody want your treats.
Treats? What kind of treats?
Vapes, pills, and drugs.
Whoa, what do you mean?
Don't tell your parents.
Looks like I'm right on time. What's going on here?
There's Sergeant B safe. I gotta get a picture.
Oh man, be safe.
Treacherous Tony, we know you're up to no good. What's in that bag right there?
What bag?
Sergeant B safe. It's his drugs. He tried to sell it to us.
Thanks, big guy, for letting me know.
You're welcome.
You kids get out of here. Treacherous Tony, drop the bag and come over here.
You'll have to catch me first.
Don't run, or you're gonna get tased.
All right. Taser, taser, taser.
All right. I give up. I won't do it again.
That's right. Your drugs will be disposed of. So put your hands up. You're coming with us.
I'm sick of going to jail.
Listen up, kids. Don't use drugs, vapes, or pills. They're not good for you. And that's your tip of the day to get you on your way.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Got Karen in here talking about the movies that we were talking about with Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and such. She said those are great movies. They are great movies. Those are movies that if they come on today, will still probably captivate my attention right now, and I'd pay attention to it. Another comment, we got Dice Maker Dupes right here. Some of his best cases come from civilian informants. Starts with building those relationships, giving out your number, and answering when they call. Absolutely. I mean, those friendships, those developments, just getting out doing community policing will work wonders on situations where you fill in the blanks on so many different things. And he's absolutely right. You get more bees from honey than you do with vinegar, as the old phrase says.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. And so therefore we had a great conversation. We got to talk about your book. Here it is again. Looking for Trouble by Maurice Hicks. Make sure you guys get yourselves a copy. Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and other links are there available out there. We'll make sure we'll put a link in the comments section. So make sure you guys check that out. And through the course of the conversation, I know we had a great interview right here. I may have forgot to ask a question, or I may have jogged your memory and something that is still right there on the tip of your tongue that you want to share with us or get out there. Right now, the floor is yours. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Well, I guess just emphasize the importance of establishing a rapport with the community.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to work as an occupation to get our trust back. Going back to the times, when people love and respect the police,
mm-hmm.
without a doubt. And like I said, we have to show compassion for people,
mm-hmm.
and people need to know that we have compassion. I cared about people in my beat and the
mm-hmm.
people in the community, and I really wanted to solve cases. It touched me personally a lot of times. In fact, these series of murders by this organization, it was very personal for me, because a lot of people that were killed were people I had talked to, juveniles. I had told them,
mm-hmm.
Not to, get into the drug trade, to
right.
get out of it, to get away from this guy,
mm-hmm.
So I have people coming to me talking about, their children have been killed, and it tore my heart out.
Yeah.
If we couldn't solve the case,
mm-hmm.
So, but people need to know that we as an occupation care about them,
mm-hmm.
we care about their family, we care about their struggles.
Right. Good share. Yes, thank you. You're absolutely right. Compassion and caring for the public is a big thing. Like you said, this job is a calling, and you can't do this job properly or effectively if you don't care about the citizens that you actually work for. I really, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. And we have officers coming on who have a degree in criminal justice, criminology.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't care about people, you can't be effective, in my view.
Yep, I agree.
You have to really care about people and their struggles. If you have this hardcore attitude, us against them, in my view, you just can't be effective.
Right.
Because when you care, you're going to put your heart and soul into these cases.
Yep. I totally agree. As usual, another great interview, Coach. Thank you very much, and good luck with your book, Maurice. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Yep. And good luck with your books as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Black and Blue. If you haven't already known, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. We got a lot of things going on. We go live weekly at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I got a special guest coming in next week. I'm not going to tell you who they are because I want you to tune in. We're going to have another exciting show just like we did today. If you're looking to get into law enforcement and you have your questions, this is your podcast for you. If you're already in law enforcement and you're looking to see other people's experiences, their publications or trainings, this is your platform for you. If you're just a citizen, average person that just wants to know how things happen, the stories are interesting, how we do things, that we are human as well, and this is an attempt to humanize the badge, this is your platform also. I'm Coach Clee. I'm your motivational speaker, your empowerment coach, your author, and your favorite baker's favorite baker, going live with you every single week with Black and Blue. Thank you guys for tuning in. We want you to stay safe, and we want you to keep watching the show. Make sure you guys tag, like, and share. Thank you very much. 10-4, over and out.
Hi, Ava.
Hey, Maya.
I don't feel like going home.
I don't feel like going home either.
What are we gonna do?
Let's just chill here.
Are we allowed to?
It's public property, isn't it?
Guess what Megan wore to school today?
OMG. There's Sergeant Be Safe.
Let's get it on, baby. Cause I'm ready to start. Take a lock off the cage, cause I'm ready to pop.
It's late. What are you girls doing here?
Are we in trouble?
Trespassing, loitering and prowling, along with curfew violations, are a big deal.
Thank you, but I'll take it from here, Captain Chaos. Rules are made for a reason. A lot of bad things can go on after curfew. We're gonna have to call your parents.
You girls must have snuck out, which is not good.
Ladies, thank you for showing up in a timely manner. I just want to let you know this will be a warning for them. They can't be out past curfew, especially on private property. Not only that, but they're also loitering and prowling. You two are able to take your daughters home. I know they'll get straightened out.
You and Captain Chaos keep up the great work.
Thank you, Sergeant Be Safe. We will straighten them out.
Well, I'm glad we got that situated.
Absolutely. Seemed like a mistake that was innocent enough. I'm glad we got the opportunity to educate the kids and make their parents aware. The work of a public servant is never over. One job down and many more to go. And that's your tip of the day. Get you on your way.